Talk to you about two problems that we need to solve in America, in Thailand, and around the world. The first of these is opportunity in a time of automation. With jobs changing, with the world changing, how do we prepare our children for the world that they will live in? The second is about equity in the digital workforce. How do we make sure that that workforce includes women and men, includes students who grew up in rural areas, in poor areas, in rich areas, and includes people from around the world? I want to start by talking about opportunity. In America today, we have over 3 million people working as cashiers. We have over 3 million truck drivers. We have people, about 3 million, who are working in labor industries. And food workers, about 3 million food workers. This is something we see around the world. And a question, when you look at all of these jobs, is what will these jobs look like when our students are graduating? And not just graduating, in 30 years, in 2030, in 2040, what will happen to these jobs? Well, we don't need to wait till 2040 to see what will happen to the impact on our workforce. If we look at the jobs today, at the workforce today, and we ask where it's going, Forrester thinks that in 8 years, 16% of our jobs will be automated, replaced by robots. PricewaterhouseCoopers estimates that in 15 years, 38% of our jobs will be automated. And McKinsey estimates that between 45 and 58% of the current workforce will be automated. Now, when we talk about automation, a lot of times we think about factories. But this goes way beyond factories. And it is not just about replacing jobs with computers. Many of the jobs that exist today will become augmented or work with computers to change the nature of the type of work that our workforce is doing. Let's take looking at scans in a doctor's office as one example. So today, to see if you have, say, pneumonia, a doctor will look at 2 scans and say, here's a healthy scan and an unhealthy scan. Which one has pneumonia? At IBM, the researchers took a set of 1 million scans and fed them into a computer. In 1 month, that computer could do a better job predicting which scan had pneumonia than the humans used to be able to do. And this is a highly skilled job in doctors' offices today. And it's not just about looking at scans or that kind of work. It may also be about diagnosing disease. This is Joshua Osborne. He's a boy in America. One day he had headaches, so they went to the doctor. Shortly thereafter, he fell into a coma. They spent a month trying to diagnose what could be wrong with him. They sent away blood samples and other samples to lab after lab after lab, trying to understand it. They spent over $1 million trying to understand what was wrong with him. He was on the brink of death. And then a lab that is doing new work with computer programming got involved, the MIC here. And what they did was they took the blood samples and they were able to run them with computer code through a sequencer that looked at all of the DNA that was present in him, both the human DNA and all of the other DNA. What bacteria were in his blood sample? And by sequencing all of that, they were able to process thousands and thousands and millions of different samples. And in just 2 hours, they were able to determine what bacteria was making him sick. Ironically, it turned out that penicillin was able to support him, and he's back up and going today. We also see it in fields that are, traditionally, far from computers. So this is agriculture. This is a lettuce bot. And what it does is it scans over the ground, and it takes microscopic pictures it takes photos of the lettuce that is growing. And rather than a human looking at it, what it is able to do with machine learning and pattern recognition is recognize when two sets of lettuce are too close together and automatically weed it out to make the lettuce more efficient. Or let's look at automotives and driving. Driving is one of the largest employers of people around the world. Not just truck driving, it is also driving people places. It is deliveries. Taking things from one place to another is a deeply human activity today. And if we look at it, we have 3 million injuries last year, $33 billion in expenses, 37,000 people who lost their lives. In the next 10 years, 15 years, this is a field that will become safer through automated technology in driving. It is also a place where a lot of jobs that exist today are going to disappear. And what happens to those people? Now, more automation is both scary and it is an opportunity for more productivity. This is not the first time we've seen a change in our workforce. When we look back at the past, when cars came into place, people were scared. What was going to happen to the jobs, to the horses, to the workforce? What we've seen over the last 100 years is opportunity that cars have enabled through transportation of goods, of services. We now have shopping malls and the ability to get things from one place to another, powered by automobiles. With farming in America, if you look back 100 years ago, 50% of Americans worked on farms. 50%. Today, with the rise of technology, 5% of Americans work on farms. We're seeing this change around the world and in one industry after another. And what does that mean for our students? How do we prepare them for a world where they're going to be working with technology in any field that they go into? What are the jobs of the future? This is a $1 trillion question in terms of where our economy is going. What we see is that more and more of these jobs are what I'm going to call digital jobs. And I'm not saying that every child will be a computer scientist. Some of them will go into technology, but many of them will work in what we will call moderately digital jobs. This is where, working in another field, they are working more and more with computers in whatever field they are going into. I see this today in my own organization, a field like marketing. Back 50 years ago, marketing was about writing catchy slogans to convince people to come to your site. Today, my marketing group is looking at big data. They're looking at AdWords and where people are clicking. They're doing A/B tests, and they're trying to understand what's happening in the technology that people are using on the internet. We see the same thing in any field, in tourism, in a hotel, thinking about how technology is used to get supplies, to find tourists to come to the hotel. Technology is becoming part of more and more jobs, and this is something that will increase over time. This is a prediction by the Brookings Institute, and what you see is an increase in the number of highly digital jobs and the number of moderately digital jobs. Another interesting point here is that the salaries for these jobs are greater. This is something that we also see when we look at wages across the industry. Computing is the largest source of income in America. It's the fastest growing source of new income, and the largest source of jobs in terms of how it is growing in wages. Now, a lot of people look at that and they think, oh, that's Silicon Valley. That's not me, that's not where I live. What we see is that most of these jobs are not about Silicon Valley. Even in America, 9 out of 10 of the new computing jobs are across the rest of the country. And 2/3 of them are outside of the tech sector. Who's hiring computer scientists? Nordstrom's, Starbucks, retail, marketing. Everybody is looking to figure out how to embrace this digital economy and looking for people who can make that change for them with computer science. So let's go back to education. What is the role of educators? What is the role of us in all of this to support this change? Now, you may think I'm going to talk about coding. After all, our name is code.org. I'm not. I'm going to talk about a broader field of computing science. And I may also say computer science. In America, we usually call it computer science. Here, computing science. Both of these encompass a much broader field than just coding. Coding is a piece of it, but it is not the whole thing. So what is in computing science? First, computational thinking. How do computers break down problems? How do I learn to work with computers the way they are breaking down problems? Computer programming, which is often called coding. Data science. We all read about big data everywhere. What does that mean, and what does that mean for us? Networking. All of our computers, our systems today are networked and connected to each other around the world. Our students should understand how the internet works and what that means for them. Cybersecurity. This is an increasingly important field for all of our students to understand in the 21st century. Robotics, that's the fun stuff. You get it in all the videos. We always show the robotics. And machine learning. Over time, what we see is that computers are becoming more and more capable of learning and figuring things out, and that's becoming part of how technology works. And our students should learn and understand what is machine learning, and how does that differ from how humans learn, and what can machine learning enable us to accomplish. When we think about what we teach in schools, the foundational pieces of just preparing our students for the world, for years we've taught things like, what is my digestive system? Bones, in America we dissect frogs. I don't know how they teach it in Thailand, but it is important as part of our fundamental education that we learn how the human body works. Not every child will become a doctor. Not every child will become a nurse. But everyone should understand how their body works. So maybe at age 40, I pull something and I go to the doctor and he said, it's your tendon. I don't remember the difference between a tendon and a ligament, but I know basically it's a part of me that connects things. As an educated human in today's world, I should understand that. The same thing when we talk about electricity. Not every child will become an electrician. But they all learn that when I turn on the switch, there's an electrical signal that goes to that light, and that will turn on that light and come back. Or we learn basic elements of mathematics as part of our standard education. In the same way, our students should learn how the technology around them works. Now, often what we do is we teach them how to use technology. We teach them how to type, how to keyboard, how to use something like Microsoft Word, or how to surf the internet. I want to go beyond that. I want to teach our students how to create that technology. The students in Thailand should not just be consumers of technology that is created in other places. The students here should be empowered to create the websites that make sense for them, for their business, for the users in Thailand, or for the users in the rest of the world who can be inspired by what they've created here. They should be able to create the apps. They should be able to create the websites. And when they use those apps and websites, even if they do not go into computer science as their final job, they should understand at a foundational level, how does that website work? What is big data? How does the internet work? The same way that we teach them today, how does my body work? Or how does electricity work? This is the world that they are going to live in. We need to prepare them to understand how that world works. When we talk about the big ideas of computer science, it's a broad set of ideas. We talk about, as you were hearing about earlier, things like abstraction and problem solving, or big data, algorithms. But we also talk about things like creativity. This is an opportunity to let students express themselves in a new medium. We've always taught students how to write, how to create books and stories. Now they can make those stories come to life with interactive apps. Instead of drawing, I can create digital art that moves and responds to me. The International Society for Technology and Education put together this definition for computational thinking. And I know this is a lot of words on a slide, so I won't read all of them to you, but I wanted to put it up for a moment to talk about and just show how computational thinking is embedded in so many pieces of what we teach to prepare students. It talks about how it's about being able to take a problem, and that problem could be, how do I get a car to cross the street safely? That problem could be, how do I buy supplies for my restaurant efficiently and cheaply? How do I make sure that the supplies don't go bad? That problem could be so many different problems. How do I think about that in a computational way? How do I organize it? How do I think about what pieces of data I'm going to need to solve that problem? It's about pattern recognition, recognizing that one problem is similar to another problem that may have already been solved or solved in a different context. It's about generalizing that problem and being able to come up with solutions that will work not just today, but tomorrow and the next day when we have different challenges that are thrown at that problem. These are the core pieces of computational thinking that underlies all of computer science. And it's the part of computational thinking that we should be teaching our students to prepare them, and we can start very young. When we think about computational thinking, it is something you probably are already doing today in other subjects as well. Part of it we teach in science, when we teach students about models that we use to understand rainfall or weather. Part of it we do in mathematics classes, when we teach students about modeling, recognizing patterns, solving problems in mathematics. And computer science is a core piece of this. It fits in with the part we do in math and the part we do in science, to allow the students to apply this to create, using these models and these abstractions and these patterns. This is a class of elementary school students who are using computational thinking to break down problems. Here they are representing the letter G with paper offline. This is not something that we need to do in front of a computer. When we teach computer science at these young ages, we do part of it on a computer and part of it off a computer. And that's actually great. It allows the students to work with each other, to work in groups and collaborate, and it helps them understand how the concepts that they're learning on the computer apply to everyday problems that they do in real life. In America, we have a little dance called the Hokey Pokey. I don't know if do you guys know the Hokey Pokey? A few. Okay, this is embarrassing. But we also do many dances. Hokey Pokey's a good one. But this is a fun activity that I love to do with kids, where you take a common dance that they've learned, in our case, the Hokey Pokey. You put your right hand in, you put your right hand out, you put your right hand in, and you shake it all about. Then you get to do it with the other hand. Then you do it with the foot. Then you do it with your whole body. It's very exciting, especially if you're in kindergarten. But what we can do is we can take something like that that's familiar and then break it down for them into what the concepts that underlie it. Inside that dance, we have repetition, we have loops, which are the same concept that allows a computer to do something over and over and over again. We also have the idea of saying, well, what if I repeat exactly the same thing, but with the other hand? How is that different, right? So it's about taking some of these concepts that are already a part of what the students are doing and helping them see how pattern recognition is connected. Help them see how we can break it down into a series of steps. You're lucky I'm not making you all do the Hokey Pokey to demonstrate that. We would have done that if you were in kindergarten. In a world of accelerating technological change, the most important skill that we can give our students is the ability to learn new technology. I'm not saying that everything is going to be exactly the same when they graduate as what we have today. The languages that we use to program, they change all the time. When I learned computer science, we were starting with Turbo Pascal and Pascal. Nobody uses Pascal today. After that, I learned C++. Then I learned C. Then it's JavaScript. It doesn't matter. The underlying concepts in every single one of these, the foundational computational thinking, is exactly the same across every one of these technologies. When the demonstration earlier where you saw block-based coding, where they were just dragging blocks, one of the reasons we use blocks for the young children is because the specific words do not matter. What we're teaching is the concepts, and you can learn those underneath the specific language or the specific technology. By learning computational thinking, by learning how computers think, we're preparing our students for a world that we know will change, that will accelerate. But no matter how it changes, I guarantee you that technology is going to be more and more and more a part of their world. So I was talking at the beginning that I would talk about opportunity in a time of automation and fostering equity in the digital workplace. I'm going to make one change to that slide. I don't think it's just about the digital workplace. I think it's about fostering equity in the future workplace for all of our students. Now let's talk a little bit more about equity. In America, when we look at the computing workforce, we see that about a quarter of the people employed in the computing workforce are women. We see the same challenge at the university level, where women are only a small minority of the students majoring in computer science. And we see the same problem when we look at K-12 education, that up until this point, women have been vastly underrepresented in computer science classes. But it's not just about women. We see the same challenge when we look at minorities in America. When we look at Black students or Latino students or Hispanic students. And we see the same challenge when we look at students who are coming from high-needs schools or from poor backgrounds where they have less opportunity. And at Code.org, we wanted to set out to change that. Now, there are problems across the board. There are challenges across the board. The part specifically I'm going to focus on tonight is the K-12 computer science question. Because that is the part that we are working on here today, is how do we change that? How do we help students see that this is not just a subject for rich white males? This is a subject for everybody. This is a subject that every student should be learning as part of their K-12 education. This is a workplace where I worked, and I personally felt this when I went into computer science. I remember going to my first year college course. It was a lecture hall bigger than this, and it was almost all male. And I felt like I didn't belong, like I'd stumbled into the wrong room. Now, luckily for me, I had an advantage coming in there. My high school was one of the few schools that taught computer science back when I took it. So I had the confidence, because I knew that already, to go in there and feel like I could do it. And that helped me get to where I am today, where I majored in computer science, where I had a successful career in technology, building Xbox and HoloLens and all sorts of interesting, fascinating technology, augmented reality, Office, Windows. But for so many students, they never have that chance in the first place. When we look at the statistics, we see that women and underrepresented minorities in America are far less likely to take computer science in college if they haven't had that opportunity in high school. And that just makes sense. When you walk into a class where everybody else has already learned this, it is hard to feel like you belong. This is something we can change by giving the students the opportunity earlier. When I walk into a second grade class, I see that the girls are super excited to be learning about technology. I had little girls come up to me and say, I made a pink robot, and I'm going to make a company, and I'm going to sell pink robots everywhere, and it's going to do your hair and I don't know what else. And that's fun, and that enlightening them, giving them that opportunity when they're young. That's something we can start with every group that doesn't have that opportunity. Giving them that confidence. So our vision at code.org is that every student in every school around the world should have the opportunity to learn computer science. We're here computing science. And they should start in elementary school. So how do we do that? 5 years ago, when we started in America, a lot of people didn't believe that they should learn it. So we began by saying, how do we break the stereotype that computing science is something that you do when you're older? Or how do we break the stereotype that it's not for me? So we began with the Hour of Code. The Hour of Code is designed to be 1 hour where you can actually try it. This has taken off around the world. We have over 500 partners, 200,000 teachers in every country in the world that have participated in doing the Hour of Code. I'm going to play a short video to give you a sense of what this is involved. So while he brings that up, so the Hour of Code, I can tell you till I'm blue in the face that computer science is going to be fun, or that it's going to be easy, or that you can do it. We see when students actually get the chance to try it, that is the best way to change their minds, to make them see that they can do it. And so what's interesting here is that when students try it, it changes their mind. And we actually saw the biggest impact with high school girls, where high school girls, when they tried computer science, when they tried doing the Hour of Code, they really changed their mind about whether they thought they could do it. Now, this has created an incredible amount of momentum in America. And if your school, if you're trying to get somebody interested, if you're trying to get them excited, make them feel like they can do it, it is a great way to get started. Get them to actually try it. Get your school, your principal, your teachers, your students to take it. Oh, those are my kids. We got all sorts of funness here. Why don't I? So this phenomenon has now reached 550 million hours that have been served around the world. And it has reached students of every demographic in every country, and almost half of the students are female. It's really changing the interest in the face of what is computer science and who is computer science for, which is exciting. And it's even more exciting when we see the momentum that this is creating and the change, the real change that's happening when we think about parents and teachers and students. Today, 9 out of 10 parents in America want their child to learn computer science. I don't know what's up with the other 1 out of 10. But I'm excited that so many parents see this as something that is important to their child's future. 3/4 of Americans believe computing science is cool in a way it wasn't 10 years ago, which personally is great for me because I'm now cool. That's good. It's a positive thing. I wasn't cool 10 years ago. And of course, students love it. This is not a surprise. If anybody here has tried letting kids create things with computers, you know how excited they are when they have the opportunity to try it. In a survey of what students like, computer science was their absolute favorite, ahead of writing and English and history and math, behind art and performing art. So we're not quite as fun as dance, but that's okay. It's great to see that students love the ability to create with computers. But we're still not there. Most schools around the world do not teach computer science. And even in America, today, most schools do not teach computer science. I'm not even saying that most students don't take it. Most schools don't even offer it, which means that a student can't take it. If they're inspired by the hour of code and they want to go further, today, they can't. And obviously, an hour of code is not computer science. It's just 1 hour. What we really need to do is take that and change it. Change the global education system so that students who are inspired, who want to learn this, can actually take that step. That every student should have the opportunity, the ability to learn these skills so that they can take their career where they want to take it. So how do we do that? So at code.org, we looked and we said, how are we going to change the global education system? How do we make it possible for students to learn this? So we looked at the challenges. And the first thing we said was we need a curriculum and professional development opportunities that are designed for the teachers who are in our schools today. Now, the teachers in our schools did not learn computer science when they went to school. In fact, I'm not even talking about just the teachers who studied 30 years ago. Even the teachers who graduated last year from university prepared to teach computer science, prepared to teach in the K-12 system in America. They did not learn computer science in their university. In America, last year, 24,000 teachers graduated prepared to teach math or science across the country. 24,000. 75 graduated prepared to teach computer science. Our teachers, we're asking them to do something that's very hard. We're asking them to teach a subject where they are not the expert. We're asking them to go in front of a room full of students, some of whom may know it better than they do, and say, I am here to teach you computing science, even though I did not learn computing science back when I was in school. And so what we have done is we have created a curriculum designed to support these teachers. And we've created professional development workshops designed to support these teachers. And we are partnering with Aksorn here in Thailand to make both the curriculum available to teachers here in Thailand and to run professional development workshops. Aksorn will be providing professional development designed to support teachers who have not had this experience. There are tools. We wanted to create curriculum, resources, provide the teachers with everything that they need to support teaching computer science and learning it alongside their students for the 21st century. Now, the second thing we realized we needed was a platform, software, a website that makes this learning accessible to students. All the way from elementary school, where we have simple block-based programming that you saw before, where I can, for example, get this angry bird over to the pig. I will demo that live later. All the way into high school, to AP Computer Science in America, which is entry-level college computer science, where we're teaching students JavaScript. And they're making their very own apps and designs using JavaScript, either in blocks or in text, and beginning to connect it to physical computing with Arduino chips that they can, make things light up or use sensors or sounds to try to connect the digital world to the physical world. Now, these platforms are designed to be simple, designed to be easy, designed to be beginning platforms. But even with these simple beginner platforms, we see that students can create so many amazing things. These are actual apps that have been made by students. This is an elementary school student who's creating a cool digital piece of artwork. I don't know what to call it, a spiral. This is a middle school student who created a game. I think you're SpongeBob going for hamburgers and candy and avoiding bullets. I don't really know how middle school students think, but it's fun to see what they create. And these are some high school students in Oakland, California, who were studying fractals in their math class and used computer science to generate fractals as part of an app that they created in computer science. Now, I'm going to take a moment here, and we're going to do some live coding demos. I want to give you a sense of what this looks like. So I'm going to exit out of my PowerPoint for a moment here. So you saw a little demo of this earlier, but I'm just going to do another quick demo. I want to show you, when I talk about teachers who don't have experience with computing science, one of the things we wanted to do was to simplify the palette of commands as students are getting started. I don't want to throw the students into a Python IDE where everything is possible, because it's hard for those students, but it's also hard for the teachers, right? You know, when the students have 200 commands that they can use, how do I, as a teacher, know what they're doing or how to control that? So what we've done is created a sequence of steps that teach the students one step at a time, both to support the students' learning and to support the teachers to be able to understand what their students know, where their students are in that progression, and how their students are learning. So here I'm getting started, and what I need to do is get this angry bird over to this pig, because pigs are evil and they stole the eggs. I apologize, this is not fully translated yet. We're working with Aksorn to get it fully translated, so we will have it, the parts that are in English here, we're still translating some pieces of it. But here I am, I'm going to move forward again, hit run. That's right. I did it live. Okay. As the students go on, as you saw before with Star Wars, we get it slightly more complicated. I need to break down a sentence like, get me to the angry bird, into a series of concrete steps. This is part of that computational thinking, where I'm breaking things down into steps. So I'm going to move forward, turn left, move forward, and turn right. I can do it. You gonna get there? Oh, I forgot to move forward again. But that's great. That's the kind of thing that we want to see. We want to see students learning, right? They're going to make mistakes. I want to see them make mistakes. I want to see them make mistakes and keep trying and try again. I'm not going to fix this one right now. I'm just going to move on. What you saw there was skill building. We gave them puzzles to solve, and they had to solve those puzzles by putting in things one step at a time, breaking down a problem into a series of steps. What I'm learning there, those skills, I can then apply creatively to create things. I'm going to show you one example of creating, which is creating digital art. So here I am at a sort of art area, and I can create whatever I want. I'm going to move forward, and then I'm going to turn right. And what I'm going to do, let's just run that. I'm going to slow it down a little bit so you can see it better. Okay, so I moved forward and turned right. Now, what happens when I repeat that series of steps 4 times? I get a square. Now you can see I'm connecting this to mathematics. I'm learning how these set of steps is similar to math, and I can create and have fun. Now let's have a little fun with this. My square is good, but you know what would make my square better? My square would be better if I had an elephant at the end of every one of those sides. So after drawing my side, I'm going to draw an elephant before I turn right. Way better. Not done yet. Let's make it even better. Let's change colors every time I draw a new side. Better. Now let's have fun and see what happens with mathematics live. Instead of turning a full 90 degrees, I'm going to turn 141 degrees. Let's try that. So let's turn 141 degrees, just some random number here. And let's repeat this instead of 4 times, let's repeat it 100 times. Pretty awesome, right? A little faster. Whee! It's pretty incredible what kids end up creating. With just a few lines of code, they can try some of these mathematical concepts, do it interactively, see what they're creating, build things that are fun and different than anything I would create, and everybody loves elephants, so can't go wrong. Let's go back to PowerPoint. So the third thing that we work on in America is the support for the work from district, state, and federal policies. We want both schools to teach computer science, but we also want to see support for computer science from the policies that are put into place to support certifications for teachers, standards, teaching it in schools. One of the great things is that Thailand is leading the way here with supporting computing science and computational thinking as part of the curriculum starting in elementary school. In America, the White House has now allocated $200 million for computer science through work that we've done. We've also worked with over 40 states to change policies for computer science, allowing it to count for graduation requirement, putting in standards in place, providing funding for computer science, and requiring schools to support computer science. Now, different states have done different elements of these policies, but what we're seeing is a sea change across America with states, districts, and the federal government beginning to support computer science as part of the core subjects that should be taught to every child in school. We have almost 200 school districts in America that have begun teaching or pledged to add computer science to their schools. And these include the largest school districts and many of the districts representing inner city youth, poor students, students who never had this opportunity before. I'm going to tell you about one school district, one story. This is Claire. She works at the Oakland Unified School District. Oakland is right next to San Francisco. You can see San Francisco from many of the schools in Oakland, but it is a very poor neighborhood. The school district is primarily black students, and those students don't have the opportunity to go work in San Francisco. In fact, just a couple years ago, almost no students in Oakland had the opportunity to take computer science. Claire realized there were only 200 middle and high school students in the entire Oakland School District taking computer science between 6th and 12th grade. So she set about to change that. She partnered with us, and we recruited math teachers, science teachers, history teachers who had never learned any computer science themselves to come to our workshops and learn how to teach computing science to their students. Just 2 years later, we have 4,000 students in the Oakland Public School District taking computing science. Not only are they taking it, they're doing it extremely well. In America, we have an AP Computer Science exam, which is entry-level college computer science. Last year in Oakland, it was the 5th most popular AP exam being taken across the entire district. And the students were passing the exam. Taking this from teachers who had just begun to teach computer science. They actually passed their computer science exam at a higher rate than their math, English, or history AP exams in the Oakland School District. Not only that, it was the most racially diverse exam in student participation, which is fantastic. But this story is not just about Oakland. This story is worldwide. At this point, computer science is the most bipartisan, fastest growing movement in education around the world. I have a little joke here. I was going to say these are the teachers at our summer workshop last year. Unfortunately, our summer workshops are not quite that fun. This is a concert. But if we were to take the teachers from our summer workshops and put them all together, we have more teachers than this going through our summer workshops to learn to teach computer science. Looking at the diversity that we see in computing science, this is last year's AP exam in America, and what you'll see is the number of female students is skyrocketing, students who never would have taken this before. We also see underrepresented minorities, which is mostly Black, Latino, and Hispanic students in America. The number of them taking computer science is skyrocketing in terms of changing the face of what computer science looks like. At this point, we have over 28 million students around the world learning on code.org. But what I'm most excited about is the reach. 35% of those students are outside the United States. Almost half cannot afford their lunch at school, but now have the ability to take computer science. And almost half of our students are female. We're changing what computer science looks like. These are just some quotes we got from different people. This is a student, and I loved this. I loved it purely and wholly. It was fun to do. I want to do just that over and over again because I really enjoyed what I could do with it. I enjoyed its interactivity and how it felt to control what happened to me. It felt really satisfying to me. I wish we could do it every day. That was a student who did the hour of code, but does not yet have the opportunity to take computer science in their school. I loved the word control in here, because I think giving our students these abilities is about giving them the ability to control how the software works, giving them the ability to create, to be owners of that. This is a movement that started with teachers. Teachers like Juan, who teaches in Seattle. Teachers bringing this to their classroom. It spread from teachers to schools, where we saw entire schools beginning to embrace computer science and bring it to everyone at their school. From there, we've gone to districts of entire districts of teachers within America bringing it to their school, to states, to our country, and around the world, where we're seeing people in every country begin to bring computer science into their education system. These are the events that were registered last year for the Hour of Code. These are just the ones that registered. We have at least 10 times more that do it without registering. And what we see is we see people registering to run these events around the world. This is cut off for some reason. I'm so sorry, Thailand's off the edge. There were events in Thailand. I didn't realize it was cut off. And it's not just the teachers. We're seeing world leaders embrace this. We've had over 9 world leaders, prime ministers, presidents, do computer science and bring their countries into bringing computer science to their country. 25 countries have now announced plans to bring computer science to all of their students. Thailand, Argentina, Australia, Canada, Croatia, the Czech Republic, Ecuador, England, Finland, France, Ireland, Israel, Italy, Japan, Malaysia, New Zealand, Pakistan, Poland, Romania, Saudi Arabia, Scotland, South Korea, Sweden, Turkey, the UAE, Zimbabwe, and more every single year. Proud to have Thailand on this list. But unfortunately, most schools still are not teaching computing science. And many schools think they are teaching computing science, but aren't yet. One of the challenges that we frequently see is that schools will think they are teaching computing science, but they don't know what computing science is. So they are teaching the students how to use computers, but not how to create. Or they don't fully understand yet how to bring computational thinking into their curriculum and make it a part of the school from elementary school all the way through high school. So in terms of where we can go and what we can do, I'm asking all of you here to join this movement. Clearly, you already believe in it because you're here, but I want you to take it back and bring it to your schools and make it a part of your schools. With the partnership here with Aksorn, I'm excited that code.org can be available in your schools and that you have resources and tools to help you bring computational thinking to your schools. Our website is at code.org/teach, but I think you have a better website here directly through Aksorn. And you can read more about us at code.org/help. But I want to do a thank you to the 800,000 teachers who are bringing this to their classroom today. The teachers are the leaders. The teachers are the ones who are bringing it to the students. They're making it possible. They're the most important part of bringing computing science to the schools. And I want to do a thank you to everybody here, out here in the audience. They said that it was okay if I took a picture of you guys to bring back, to show all of the support here in Thailand for computing science. Can y'all smile? Awesome. I'll do a selfie too. I want to show everybody all of the support here in Thailand for computing science. Awesome, fantastic. I'm going to show the team back at home. All of you guys who are going to make this happen here. Very excited. And I also want to do a big thank you to our donors. Everything we produce is free of charge. It's all open source and Creative Commons. That's made possible, we're a nonprofit, through generous donations from Amazon, Facebook, the Infosys Foundation, and Microsoft, and many other donors. So I want to do a thank you to the donors who have made this possible. And thank you to Aksorn here for having me here today. Thank you.